All right, what's going on there, guys? Good evening. It's the Earthmaster here on this beautiful Wednesday night, August 17, 2022. It's about 8:30 p.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 1.8 earthquake into the area of, looks like the Big Island of Hawaii. Latest quake there on the globe. We have seen some activity ramping up along the Middle America Trench there, as noted, and also down along the South America region, where we've seen a 5.3 earthquake strike earlier this evening. All right, so let's jump into the latest space weather activity. I know we were all kind of looking forward to that G3 class storm tonight, right? I mean, it kind of kicked in a little bit, but we have dramatically dropped off and backed off significantly from the KP index value here. Looking earlier this afternoon, we've seen the basically G2 storm conditions kick up here around the 6 on the KP index scale here. And since then, we have dramatically dropped off with very minimal solar weather activity. And looks like they're still calling for a G3 class storm overnight, but it's hard to say right now if we've just pretty much witnessed that event we were supposed to have. It's possible that we could have just, that was it. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, that's it. No more coming up tonight. Sometimes these things do happen on occasion. Looking at the global aurora forecast here, shows extreme minimum on the scale here. Not looking likely at all for the latitudes, higher latitudes. That includes Canada, at all in terms of the aurora. No recent updates showing up here than the moderate G2 storm that came in this afternoon. But that has since died off completely, folks. Looking at the current solar weather activity, we're looking at a northward. We did have a pretty strong northward tilt here. That red dots here indicating the northward tilt. After the southward tilt there, we've seen that KP index kick up there, definitely, to a G2 class storm. But since then, it looks like things have mellowed out dramatically with a northward tilt on the interplanetary magnetic field, which is stabilizing everything out here in terms of the auroras and the geomagnetic unrest. We're still looking at the speed here of the solar wind elevated above the 500 km range, as well as the density. But things are kind of stabilizing here as far as that is concerned. And I don't know if this is going to kick back up or not. The same for the spaceweatherlive.com website. These guys kind of show an array of a lot of data when it comes to space weather activity. Right now, only KP index of 3. And it's looking pretty minimal, pretty wimpy, if I were to say the right word here. So I'm not for certain if we're going to see anything kick back up in the respect of the expected. Basically a couple CMEs headed our way. So I think that was it. Looking at the detailed forecast here, the KP index was supposed to be up around the G3 class storming here in the purple, between the 0 and the 600 time frame. It is currently 0340, right? About 0335. So we could still possibly see things ramp up just out of the blue. It's a possibility, because it is a little odd for everything just to go south. Well, in this case, north. I shouldn't say south, because we've seen a northward trend of the of that data coming in. So, and that kind of puts us at some neutral conditions right now. We'll see how this plays out. A lot of times these guys are forecasting, wow, big event coming up tonight, folks, you know. Check it out. You know, auroras down to California, Oregon, you know, and it just, I don't know. You know, sometimes stuff like this happens. This is the current conditions of a geomagnetic forecast. Quiet, active at the polar. I did have someone ask me, how come I don't mention Canada up here in the aurora forecast? Well, they get a lot of auroras up there. So most of the time when I do spread the news of auroras, it's kind of for the upper tier states that don't see it too often. But no doubt Canada, yes, absolutely is included. But I just thought it was funny that a viewer up here had the nerve to comment and say, I'm glad you don't have a lot of Canadian viewers because you completely left them out. No, we didn't completely leave them out. We show them up here on the map specifically. And they're included in the auroras when they are active. So, good Lord, man. People are just ornery today. I don't know what it is. Have you guys noticed a trend this year? Something going on with people's dynamics, their ethics, and just how they think? I don't want to go off the chart here, but man, something's going on. Something fishy is going on with humanity. That's kind of why I like to stay inside my house, behind my gate, inside my computer room, and that's it. And Missy Mimi's and the kids, that's all that's involved here in my life right now. All right. Someone said I'm paranoid for thinking stuff like that. Oh, goodness. All right, let's move on. Let's not pay those people attention, right? I get a lot of good comments. Someone tell me, don't give those haters any type of energy. Don't even pay attention to them. They're probably laughing on the other side of the computer screen right now. That's okay. Enjoy your little comment. Enjoy your little laugh. Ha ha ha. All right, guys, let's move on. So again, still waiting. We're just kind of watching, folks, to see if this kicks up. With the northward trend, we probably missed it. The full impacts of the CME, a couple of CMEs that were expected to hit us. Because right now we're way down there in the green, folks. We're way down there. We'll see what happens. Okay, if anything does change, we will no doubt provide updates as expected. Coronal hole activity, of course, has moved off to our or on the western limb of the sun here. That is the region that is bringing us some high wind stream from the sun, the solar wind stream, and it's gone past us now. Of course, we also had a couple glancing blows of some CMEs from some flares. Right now, looking at the current data here, shows that the coronal hole way off, looking like maybe a couple other openings here on the sun will be somewhat directed towards us, but kind of a southward area on the sun. So we'll see how that plays out in the coming days. Solar flare activity has been somewhat elevated as well, although we're noticing a decline right here. Notice a decline in the trend of the C flares right now. So we'll see, kind of see how that plays out. Right now, 99% chance of a C flare, 40% chance of an M flare, 10% chance stands for an X flare. But looking at some of these dynamics here, 3081 is a massive sunspot, but that's about it. It doesn't pose any major credible threat in terms of producing any significant flares. These magnetic fields are a little bit too far apart, folks. There's no special spark between the two here. 3078 potentially, 3083 as well. Kind of getting a lot of intermixing here of the polarity of the fields. If anything does pop off here in terms of solar flare activity, it's going to be from this sunspot down here. 3082 looks somewhat medium in terms of getting its act together, but man, I don't know. I've been a little bit unimpressed with the solar weather activity recently. You know, it's kind of like that weatherman saying chance of showers tonight. You know, it's going to put a damper on the dust out there, and nothing happens. You know, it's just I guess the word is called depressing. It's really depressing to not get any activity. A lot of people like that fair weather out there. People like who knows what, you know. I'm not a fair weather type of guy. I don't like it. So take your fair weather and keep it in Southern California. Southern California, what's going on down there? Salton Sea, right next to the San Andreas Fault. Are you guys prepared for the 8.1 earthquake coming to your region? Southern California, I'm talking to you. Got this earthquake at 2.8 just off the southern segment of the San Andreas Fault, kicking up here about 2 or 3 hours ago. right, I'm not even joking, like literally right off this southern branch here. This is where the 8.1 is going to hit one day, and a lot of people are going to say, oh, we weren't prepared, we weren't prepared. Oh, but you were. You were given notice for how many years now? I've been hearing this since I was a kid. 2.8 at 2.3 kilometers. Really shallow earthquake out there around the southern segment of the San Andreas Fault. Still getting a little bit of swarming within the region, showing some regional stress. Of course, this has been building up here for you folks down there in Southern Cal for over 300 and something years. Big one coming to your table. Just a matter of time. Make sure you guys are prepared, and don't, you know, a lot of people call this paranoia, and I don't like the folks that tend to say that. Oh, you're just paranoid. You know, there's no major quake coming. You're just a paranoid individual. Oh, goodness, man. What is this world coming to? What is this world coming to? I'm ready to go hide out in a cave somewhere and just live out the rest of my life, because it's getting ridiculous in terms of society and their thinking, their behavior. Cuckoo is the word that I have in mind. Okay, looking... All right. Looking at the rest of the data here, I'm all right, guys. I'm all right. I'm not paranoid. I'm not schizophrenic. I'm just me. Perfectly fine. A 1.6 here, just off the Brawley seismic zone here to the east within the last hour. So definitely a little bit of activity, I would say, folks, right? We get some activity right up against the edge of the southern segment. How big of an earthquake is it going to take to trigger this bad boy? Is it going to take a little nudge? Is it going to take a 5-pointer? Is it going to take a little swarm down here around the Brawley seismic zone? Who knows? We don't know until it happens. But all I know is there's a lot of stress here built up in this region. So for someone to say that there's nothing to worry about, good Lord, man, I feel sorry for them. All right, looking up north, and that's not fear-mongering, folks. That's the facts. Check it out. We cover this activity a lot here on this channel. The San Andreas Fault here, the southern segment, that's the one you guys need to be worried about. Southern Cal, that is. Up north, that's a little bit different story, the Cascadia. That's another sleeping giant. Maybe one will trigger the other. All right, working our way up north. Looks like a little activity outside of Palmdale. Off the coast of the Huntington Beach area, 2.5 near San Pedro, California. 2.5 and a 2.3 out there around the San Pedro Channel. A little activity for you folks off the southern coast. Definitely capable of producing some big ones out there. Not fear-mongering, that's just a fact. I remember down there in Los Angeles a couple years ago, I was flying in there and I took off from the Los Angeles International Airport, and it kind of extends out here. Is this it? There's the Santa Monica Municipal right here, International Airport. Like literally, we're taking off in a western direction here, and I couldn't believe the topography of the land. It's flat as a pancake. There's literally no hills, no elevation difference here between the city, the airport, and the ocean. Like literally, if there's a huge earthquake out here in a thrust type fault that could produce a tsunami, this whole area would be a lake with many feet of water. I'm not even joking. There's no difference in elevation out there. I couldn't believe it. I was a little bit frightened by what I seen from the air. All right, moving on. Up into the Antelope Valley area. Not Antelope Valley area down south, but up north, folks, along the eastern edge of the Sierra Nevada. That includes portions of Nevada, California. Seeing a little bit of activity ramping up here tonight in a little swarm fashion. No major earthquakes right now, but this is the area that did see a 6.0. 2019, 2020, one of the years. I would just say over the last couple years, that's when we've seen the 6-pointer. Aftershock sequences, they're continuing, no doubt, in that region. The Blanco Fracture Zone, El Blanco Fracture Zone out here. This earthquake striking up earlier this afternoon time frame, a 2.8. No major movement to report right now along the Cascadia subduction zone, but that's going to change. When? We will see, right? We will see. Yellowstone National Park, 2.0 and a 0.5. Let's go ahead and check out some activity out here. Yellowstone National Park. Looks, I can already see it. Can you guys see it? Right here. Little spitter spatter of earthquakes all of a sudden. Bam, 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 bam. There's a couple earthquakes in there, although the USGS only reporting like 2. There's more than that, and also following this little spitter spatter event, and over the last couple hours as well. That's at Yellowstone National Park. But no major swarms to report, folks. No major activity at Yellowstone yet. Moving on, onward we go. Latest quake at 2.0 near Chickasha, beautiful Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma. I'm not even going to lie. I love the state of Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas area. I love the southern plains. Up north around the Paducah City area, north of Enid, Medford region, a 1.9 and a 1.7 kicking up here earlier this afternoon. Nothing going on around my future home state of Kansas, hint, hint. But for now, kind of quiet up there. Eastern portion of the country, all quiet except for Maine. What's going on up there? Doesn't Stephen King live up there? What's he doing? Kind of creating some earthquakes around the region? Who knows? I doubt it. I'm a pretty big Stephen King fan when it comes to books. I don't really talk too much about my novels and stuff that I read. Stephen King, Dean Koontz. I love the thriller type stuff. I'm not even going to lie. 3.0, Centerville, Maine. A 2.0, Centerville, Maine. A couple small earthquakes kicking up here. And no doubt this area is seismically active. It has been historically throughout the many, many thousands and millions of years. U.S. hazard map shows us within that zone a little bit. As you get down towards the New Hampshire area, around Concord and whatnot, Vermont, it gets pretty active in terms of seismic activity. But the area of Centerville, Maine, definitely within that hazard zone. So it's no doubt, it's definitely not any surprise to see this activity. Unless it turns into something major, right? Unless we start seeing a major swarm, then we need to start worrying. A little bit of activity, Pahala region, around Mauna Loa as well. Beautiful big island. Never been out there. I really don't know if I want to go out there, to be honest. A lot of people out there. If I was to go out there, I'd be up on one of these volcanoes, not at these tourist destinations around Honolulu and Hilo and other areas. I would want to be out away from people. I don't know. I'm just kind of like that. I'm more of a nature guy than I am a people freak. So, Lohe Seamount, not a whole lot going on. We got one earthquake here way earlier this afternoon, a 2.5 at about 8.7 kilometers. But aside from that, things kind of typical out there in the big blue Pacific Ocean. Movement around Japan as well, but all this activity, if noted here, if you look on the map, is from older movement this morning and early this afternoon. So we have not seen any further westward pressure of activity, which means west coast, potentially down here South America, like we seen earlier, is under the gun for further strain and buildup and release of at least earthquake activity. 4.6 Ecuador from early this morning. The most recent earthquake here earlier this afternoon, 5.3 into the Chile-Argentina border region, 104 kilometers. Look where it's at, outside of Santiago, Chile. 104 kilometers down there into that major subduction zone here. We haven't seen too much activity here in the southern portion of the South American region, so watch this area pretty closely. Super high accumulated slip rate here in this region. All right, what else we got? Tremor map along the Cascadia subduction zone, Northern California, hitting it up here on the map. Southern end of the Cascadia. Have we seen any major earthquakes out here or any type of microquakes? Let's go ahead and double check here. Not a whole lot popping up here, but we are getting that shoving down underneath the North American plate here, so to speak, in this area. And that shows it up here on the map. 35, probably about 35, 45 kilometers down dip into the Cascadia subduction zone, further adding strain up here along the locked area that will no doubt produce a 9.0 or greater earthquake for the folks there in the northwest. Not a friendly present, and definitely, but not a surprise, right? A lot of folks should know about it. They should be prepared and know that there's no doubt the potential for a large damaging earthquake in the Pacific Northwest and a subsequent tsunami. Let's see what else we got here. I think that's about it, folks. Again, the solar weather data, it's a little disappointing. If you were expecting something major kicking off tonight, we had that extended period ramping up around the G2 class storm earlier. But man, things have really backed off. And I don't know if they're going to go up anymore. But again, we will keep an eye on it. KP indexes right now just kind of very minimal. And it's just one of those things, folks. We can't predict it accurately 100%. Just kind of forecast it a little bit and kind of give out a little, hey, heads up, look what's headed this way, But sometimes in the bigger realm of things, we tend to, forecast this stuff, but it just doesn't happen sometimes. Let's see what else. I think that's about it. Looks like solar wind speed is currently moderately high, around 547. Strength of the interplanetary magnetic field is moderate. The direction is north. So it is what it is. I know a lot of people don't like it, but a lot of people don't like facts as well. They want the fear mongering out there. So we're not going to do it. We're just going to produce the facts out there for everyone. Have a good night, guys. Stay safe. And the G3 storm is still currently, technically, in watch here. So I'm going to leave that up until it expires, which will probably be tomorrow morning sometime. But just keep your heads up. The aurora forecast up on the globe is the 30-minute data, forecasted data. Keep an eye on that. If things do ramp up to the G3 class storm, expect potential auroras, at least on the horizons, down to the around Bend, Oregon, Wyoming areas, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, maybe portions of northern Kansas, Ohio, and of course Canada. Canada is one of those zones that get in on the action a lot more than the northern tier states. So we definitely mention them out here. Maybe not every single solar storm update, but they know. If there's an aurora, they know about it. They're lucky. They just got to look up in the sky. You don't have to look with a pair of binoculars way out on the horizon. They get all the action up north, though. So those guys are pretty lucky. But anyway, folks, have a good day. I read all the comments, and I'm sure a lot of the negative comments that I've seen today were addressed in this update video. I do hope everyone has a great evening. We will chat at you guys a little bit later on. Peace out, everyone. Have a good night.